Hey everyone, I'm Aaron. They call me Shutout. That's my identical twin brother, Adam. He's throwing a complete game. We're throwing a complete game. Shutout. You are in a baseball brewhaha. That means cup of coffee, boom, and a daily baseball trivia fracas. Thanks for joining us. If you have a burning baseball trivia or any other comments, please enter them down below. You'll see our Twitter at the end of the show or in the description. You can tweet at us there. Our favorite questions that we get to put together are the ones that ideas that are submitted by you. We'll give you a shout out as well. And if you want to, depending on the situation and circumstances, we'll have you on the show. That'd be a lot of fun. So thanks for joining us today, Adam. Let's get into it.
Here's our question today. 3 pitchers ever have had a span of at least 275 starts without throwing a shutout. Who had the most complete games in a 275 game span of those players? So this is brought to us by Alex Cobb. He went 10 years, more than 10 years between his first and second career shutouts. So that just happened pretty recently. So we thought, have people pitched more games and not thrown shutouts? They sure have. They sure have. So here's our question with our answers. Who had the most complete games without throwing a shutout? J.A. Happ, Kirk Reuter, or Tim Wakefield? And this is over any 275 game span in which they didn't throw a shutout.
Yeah, part of me feels like this should be Tim Wakefield because knuckleballer, not throwing a lot. But I went J.A. Happ here. I mean, sure, Kirk Reuter, solid pitcher, but I don't know. But he also played in an era where pitchers were throwing more innings. So I probably just blew this one. I'm on a losing streak, and it just goes downhill when you're in a losing streak like this. So that's what I have.
Yeah, you're getting shut out recently. You know, you're on one of those streaks. So I'm going Tim Wakefield on this one. Rubber arm, knuckleballer. He had some times where he pitched pretty well, and so I figure there's got to be some times where he's throwing complete games in there. So I went Tim Wakefield. Let's take a look. The correct answer is Tim Wakefield. The most complete games he ever had in a span that long was 9, which is pretty good. I mean, yeah, pretty good. Kirk Reuter was second with 2. He had exactly 2 in all of his 275 game spans. J.A. Happ, 0.
Of course.
He had only 4 complete games in his entire career of 15 years. 3 of them came in one season.
Yeah, I just feel a Mariners fan, and I'm hearkening back to when the Mariner at the end of April this year couldn't score any runs, kept getting shut out. So that's I just wanted to identify with my people.
Yeah, it's the life of a Mariners fan, that's for sure. Well, shutout droughts, these things happen, and these 3 players made a career out of it, or almost their entire career out of it. But the most consecutive games started without a shutout ever. That belongs to Tim Wakefield, who his streak went to the end of his career from when it started. 353 consecutive starts without throwing a shutout. He was 142 and 123 in that stretch, with 11 complete games, a 4.6 ERA. And an incredible 97 wild pitches. But, I mean, he was a knuckleballer, so.
Yeah, absolutely. So, yeah, Tim Wakefield, for his career, went 200 wins and 180 losses. And interestingly, reading about Tim Wakefield, he was drafted as a first baseman. The scout told him he'd never make it past AA as a fielder. So then he was like, how do I figure out how to stick in the show? He became a knuckleballer. If you look up his stats, though, you'll see that he played in 93. There's a skip to 95. And you're going, what happened to Tim Wakefield for a year? Well, Tim Wakefield for a year spent a year in AAA, led the league in losses, walks, and home runs allowed while he was figuring out that knuckleball.
Yeah, well, usually guys miss a year with Tommy John or whatever, but he lost a year trying to do the knuckleball. But then he
Figuring
came
out.
back, he was a
Came back.
pretty good knuckleball pitcher.
Yeah.
Well, let's go back to Alex Cobb, who this story inspired us by. He went more than 10 seasons, but he only had 179 starts between his. I mean, that's a lot, but we're saying only. But it's nowhere near 275 with these other guys. About 175 fewer than Wakefield's enormous span. The 10 years and 244 days that Alex Cobb went in between is the third longest stretch ever between the first and second shutout.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Wakefield, 13 months between his first two. He threw consecutive shutouts in 93, however. So Alex Cobb and Tim Wakefield have this interesting kind of meshing here because they throw the ball very differently. Wakefield, the knuckleballer, Alex Cobb, a much more traditional player. He's 71 and 69 in his career. And both Tim Wakefield and Alex Cobb over different career spans have a 162 game average of 12 wins and 11 losses in a year. And with Tim Wakefield's 105 ERA plus and Alex Cobb 107 ERA plus. They're the same pitcher, folks. I know they throw it differently. It's the same pitcher.
Yeah, well, so then you talked about Tim Wakefield. So he went 13 months between his first and second shutouts. His second and third shutouts were consecutive. So now we're looking at shutout streaks. We know that there's been a long scoreless inning streaks, but were those shutouts all along the way? So the longest shutout streak was Don Drysdale, 1968, 6 games for the Dodgers. He broke the previous record of 5 set by Doc White in 1904.
And then, interestingly, as luck would have it, this is only, I feel like this kind of stuff can only happen in baseball. 2 days after Drysdale's streak ended, Bob Gibson started another 5-game shutout streak for the Cardinals. 68, same year, also saw Louis Tiant throw 4 consecutive shutouts. And he's the only player to have 2 shutout streaks of at least 4 games. He did it again in 1972.
That's a lot of throwing shutouts.
Yeah.
And we're getting close to a complete game. We're getting tired here, folks, and that's a hard thing with the shutout. But we got to keep it going. Rolling into the 9th here. You know what time it is. It's story time here, and we're talking about shutouts. I wish I could talk about, I could talk about a shutout that I threw, but it was pretty unceremonious. One shutout feat that I'm, I guess, proud of is in high school, we were dominated one game against Colton, and the pitcher threw a complete game. He was throwing a no-hitter for most of the game, but I broke it up in the 6th with a very weak base hit up the middle. Still counts as a hit.
It does.
Ended up, we lost a 1-hit shutout that day, but I got the 1 hit, and so I felt good.
Indeed. Yeah. I was thinking back to our senior year. We had a really good team. We ended up getting second in state, and we could hit. We could rake a bit. And we had one game where we played Tico Oakdale at home, and myself and Ryan, freshman pitcher at the time, we threw a combined no-hitter against Tico Oakdale and won the game in a shortened, a mercy rule shutout. And then we turned around the next game. I think it might have been the next day. I don't remember. We played in St. Mary's. They were really good. They weren't in our league, but they were very good. And they turned around and no-hit us. And Stu was not happy. We tried to, be like, the sunlight is difficult through the trees. And Stu was like, I ain't having that. Let's not talk about the sunlight through the trees. So anyway, that's my shutout memory. right there, folks.
Yeah, that's a different kind of shutout streak. We could do a little research on that. What's the longest streak that any team has been involved in a shutout, win or loss? I mean, I'm curious. Anyone know the answer to that one? Shoot it to us out there.
Yeah, folks. Thanks for joining us today. Special thanks to StatHead, NBC Sports, and Guardado, Michelle, I think. I could be wrong about that. And at MLB. Thanks everybody for joining us. If you have a burning question, drop it in the comments below or find us on Twitter and tweet us there. Like, subscribe, and we'll be back at it tomorrow. We will be throwing a complete game. I guarantee it won't be a shutout. I don't know if we have that in us at this point here. So, but anyway, thanks for joining us, everybody. We'll see you tomorrow.